Hey darlings, I just want to wish everyone a happy new year. I have off tomorrow, so I'm gonna go on a long vigorous hike. I normally do that on Sundays, but Sunday I have to work a New Year's party, so that'll be fun. I never do anything on New Year, so it's new and different for me. But I wanted to hop on and wish everybody a happy new year. Please be safe. I'm actually not thrilled that I'm going to be on the roads at night, especially 26 on New Year's. It's such an amateur evening. 26 can be a real crapshoot in terms of accidents and crazy drivers, but it is what it is. I'm sure I'll be fine. I normally stay at home. I'm so much fun. I am fun, but in a totally different way. At least I think I'm fun. Anywho, so whatever you're doing, Happy New Year. I don't go by our calendar, so I don't set goals or anything like that. You know, I might journal or whatnot, but for me personally, I do all of that in March. I go by a different calendar. I've had great success doing that. I've actually done vision boards in March and made like almost all of my vision boards come true for a few years in a row. That has happened. And then I stopped doing vision boards, but I might do one this March. My daughter and I had a really long talk. It's been kind of interesting. So I still have this resistance being in Asheville. I posted pictures this morning from Pisgah Forest of the beautiful morning frost and the mist over the mountains. I just miss the aesthetics of that area greatly. But so many positive things are happening since I've moved to Asheville. A really weird thing was happening in the house that I was in, and you have to remember that everything is energy. And I'm sure that you felt this where you go to a place and you feel really good and aligned. Like when I was in Hawaii, I felt like I was home. I don't know what it was, but I loved it. Like I tried to convince my then husband that that's where we needed to move. And they had told me on the islands of Kauai, because they marry so many people there, that a ton of couples call their family and say, ship all of our stuff, we're not coming home. That's actually very common. And my ex-husband could have done his job. He could have puddle jumped in the little planes to the islands of Oahu, and he could have done his job there. But you know, he's a pretty adventurous dude. Well, he used to be. I'm way more adventurous than he is now. It's like we flip-flopped, which is hilarious because I was always like such a scaredy cat, and he was like the let's jump out of an airplane type of guy. That was like the best part of our relationship. More when we were dating, because we had kids right away, and although my ex-husband acted very excited about me being pregnant, he just wasn't ready to be a husband or a dad. But that's okay. Everything happened the way that it was. But when we were dating, we did really cool things, like we hiked a waterfall in Jamaica, we did a cruise to Bermuda, we went bell diving in Bermuda, what scared me, I don't know, being underwater and relying on people above ground to be pumping oxygen into my glass bubble around my head. You know, clearly, you know, I don't trust easily, but it was a really cool experience. So we, you know, we got married in Kauai. We did some fun things, and I really loved it there. That state, you know, that it doesn't even feel like you're in a state, Hawaii. It just feels like you're in this whole other world. Like I just felt transported. I felt the same way in Greece. And I felt something slightly similar in the Gerês National Park area of Portugal. And then I've been to some places that I've just hated. Like I went to Huntington Beach, California. I was not impressed. I didn't love it. When I visited Brevard, North Carolina, which is where I was living, loved it. And Colorado just fell head over heels in love with. And, you know, I would love to go back because back then I wasn't as adventurous as I am now. And it was kind of like all business and no play. But we were in Denver and Boulder, and I would love to go snowboarding out there. And I would love to do hiking out there. But anyway, so I don't feel in Asheville the way that I felt in Brevard. Oddly enough, but like there's so much more forward motion. I felt so stuck being in that house that I was in Brevard. So I don't know if it was the energy of the home. It could have been partially the energy of the girl that I was living with, who is not the most motivated, ambitious person. And that Hops just flew in front of my face. That's the little orange tabby. She's adorable. She wasn't the most motivated, ambitious person, and that is very hard for me. Being around somebody that has no oomph, and she seemed to perpetually rely on other people to motivate her. So that was a downer for me, and just the overall energy of the house, I think, because even my relationship with my kids has improved exponentially since I've left that home. My friendships have improved. Where am I going? Improved. I keep wanting to say approved. My friendships are approved. They probably are. That's probably accurate because I've let a lot of people go, and I feel like more of the right people are showing up in my life, and I'm growing like deeper in alignment in that area. But my relationships have improved. Little buddy, what the heck are you doing, crazy bird? Yeah, and like job situations, just my roommate is super cool. There's just a lot of forward motion. I have 2 trips planned in 2024 already, and I'm planning a third, and that one potentially could be international. That one is going to be a hiking adventure trip. I have a backpacking trip in April. Jeez, these cats. They never do this, by the way. I have a backpacking trip in April, and I think I'm going snowboarding in Vermont in February. So I feel like 2024 is going to be a very impactful, adventurous year for me. I intend to travel and play as much as possible. 2023 was very difficult. I was like half homeless for the year. I moved a lot. I didn't have a home for half the year. And it was just an interesting year. There was deep personal heartbreak and endings and beginnings and endings and beginnings and endings and beginnings, like kind of like one of those years. And I was in deep hermit mode for most of the year. Like I really kept to myself, which that's in me, but not to that extent, because I can be quite social, but I guess I just needed a long stint of time to really tap in. It felt like oh my gosh, little buddy. What are you doing? It's driving me crazy. He's like having a kid. It was one of the loneliest years of my life, especially the second half when things got very, very quiet. But there was so much growth. And I knew their potentiality and possibility was growing, but it was a very, very hard time. One of my very dear friends kind of dropped out of my life. Again, like I said, I moved to Asheville and it like all picked up again. So it's very odd how that happened. But, you know, I lost touch with some people who were very sacred to me, and they kind of just like fell out of my life, and I didn't understand it. But I knew that I had to kind of go with it and be in my aloneness. And yeah, it was impactful in a weird way. But 2024, I feel like, is going to be a very, very spicy, fun, adventurous year for me. And more lucrative and a lot more forward motion. I'm starting to like feel it now. But I was talking to my daughter. Now I'm like going to completely go in a different direction, because there has been this odd thing happening. I don't know if you all are feeling it, where the last few weeks with the full moon that we just had and some astrological things happening, a lot of familial stuff has been coming up. A lot of our past has been coming up. And oftentimes when that happens, we feel like we're repeating a cycle, or we're like, I thought I was over this. Where is this coming from? Just coming up to be, you can go deeper into the healing. And so my oldest daughter was sharing some intimate things with me, and she's not always one to do that. And a lot of stuff came up about her childhood. And again, I give my children the room and space to be very honest with me about how they feel. And sometimes I feel like I'm like the weird mom, right? I mean, my kids are very proud of me and they try their hardest to understand me, and I think that they do. But you have to remember that more than 80% of people in the world function in a linear manner. They're A to Z. This is what is expected. This is what I do. I go from A to B to C to D. And then there are people like me who are 20% or less of the population that kind of spiral and are more of the way showers or the pioneers and forward thinking and kind of like just do our own thing, because I can't do it any other way. I just don't fit into the model. And that must be very difficult for my children. And I am sensitive to that because I am a very atypical mom in that sense. And so we were kind of breaking all of that down. And a lot came up about her dad. And there's a lot that I have not shared. When I say my ex-husband was a difficult person, this is not to ever sit and project that I'm like all sunshine and rainbows. I'm deeply flawed. I feel like we're all inherently flawed. I own that. I know the things that I still need to work on. But I have a really big, generous, loving heart, and my ex-husband struggles. To this day, he struggles with a lot of things, and he's not always a good, nice person. I think there is a lot of good in him. I tend to see the best in people to my own detriment, but the reality is that his dark side shows forth more than most people. And my oldest daughter got the brunt of it. So you could imagine, so when we separated, I really lost control of how he was parenting our kids. And that was really hard because I knew after 10 years of being with him what he was capable of. And a lot of people, I went for therapy for a long time, and basic psychology 101, my oldest daughter looks a lot like me. And so it could have been that. But I also think it's because she very much has a lot in me in terms of being very independent and self-reliant and self-sufficient. She's very much her own person. She sees through people's BS, and she says it like it is. And a lot of people don't like that. They don't respond well to that. And so she did get the brunt of things, and there was a big battle. There were many court cases. When the law finally, my ex-husband has crazy karma with the law. Like, he got away with a lot. He got away with a lot, way more than he should have, which was very, very hard on my children. But when the law finally was like, wait a hot minute, what is going on here? And how has he gotten away with this? And this was somebody very high up in the police department. I still lost the court case with pictures of bruises on my daughter's body and testimony from a sergeant. And it was a female judge, and my daughter was 16. And she told me that my daughter was not old enough to choose homes. I mean, it was brutal. It was brutal. I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm not looking for anyone to feel sorry for me. I've worked very hard to help walk my daughter through this. Of course, I've gotten her help. She's gotten her self-help. It's very hard to come out of that because, unfortunately, like me, and because I never met a man that I felt like I could settle down with, and also for years and years, I truly wasn't focused on that. I felt like I was doing myself and my kids better for staying alone. And that if a man came into our world, great, but I wasn't actively looking for it. And so I never grew up with a really healthy male role model. And so what I did as I got older is I started to find men on social media, therapists, just strong men that I felt like, oh, this is how a man behaves. This is how a man fathers. This is how, a man treats his woman, his wife, his lady, his partner. And I've encouraged my daughter to do that recently, outside of personal therapy. I think there are really good, because we can't get around social media. Like it's not going anywhere. What's done is done. We're here. We're in the realm of heightened technology use. So at least use it to your advantage. And there's really great people out there, strong leaders to listen to. And that can kind of become your mentors. And so I recommended that she do that. And I was just reading this quote about a good man will know that you can do it on your own, but not allow you to. Like, they'll have your back and they'll support you. And as much as it burdens my heart that I was never able to give my daughters that gift of meeting somebody who could show up for them in that way, and it's not too late, right? Because the man that does come into my life, I'm much older and wiser, and I'm going to ensure that that's going to be the case, and that my daughters will see, how a real man behaves. But I do think that there's so much excellent information out there. There are so many people that we could turn to for really solid wisdom and advice for whatever you're seeking, whatever you're looking for. And so I think a lot of things are being drudged up before this year ends for deeper healing. And I don't think we should ever be afraid of that. When that darkness, when that shadow side surfaces, we can't have light without the shadow. You can't really find, happiness is never the goal for me. I feel like that's such a waste of time for anybody. I think it's about being in the moment and embracing what the moment brings. So, we're so busy chasing happiness that we can't just sit with ourselves in our own darkness. That whole Pollyanna positivity movement that drives me crazy. So I think it's important to really harness the shadow and really sit in those darker places and grow in awareness and wisdom from that darkness so you can harness more light. And I really believe that that's what's happening. So my daughter wasn't the first person who said something to me like, I feel like I'm just, experiencing all this deep emotional stuff all of a sudden. Like, where is it all coming from? It's like that excavation of the soul to an extent. And so I just wanted to share that because if you are enduring that, there's a lot of loneliness that's coming up for people. I know I'm someone that feels very alone in life more often than not. I choose not to surround myself with a lot of people. I keep my circle really small and tight because I find that most people are not in it for the right reasons. So I'm very particular and specific about who I share myself with, who I share my time and energy with. And so my circle is very small. I'm not one of those people that needs to be around people all the time to feel loved or good about myself. I feel better when I have deeper, intimate connections. That's just me. It's not, because my youngest daughter is very, very social, and she can be a little bit more gregarious like her father. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that at all whatsoever. But I do feel alone more often than not. And maybe it's my sensitive nature. Maybe it's just part of my constitution. But that loneliness has been coming up, and a few things from my childhood has been coming up. So if you're there, I think it's almost a good thing for this to be happening at the end of the year so that you can kind of I think it's even in the Bible about shedding your skin, the snake skin, like shedding your skin, like a snake, so that the new, fresh, and vital can enter. So this is really a great time of year to kind of like slough off all of that old stagnant energy so you can move into something newer, more vibrant, more in alignment. I think alignment is a really good word. Alignment just means that it's something that's aligned both head and heart, because we need both, right? And when your head and heart is kind of functioning cohesively, that's when you usually feel your best. It's when we're too much in our heart that we're getting emotionally violated and pounded by other people's stuff or our own stuff and getting sucked under. Or we're too much in our head, so we're constantly overanalyzing and overthinking. But anyway, I just wanted to share that because I know that I'm not alone. A few people have reached out. This full moon has been quite a doozy. If you're somebody that does not believe in how the phases of the moon impact you, I would do a little bit more research and really pay attention to your emotions around this time. Even my dad, who is a police officer, would say, like 2 nights before the full moon to 2 nights after the full moon was the most arrests and the most hospitalizations. He was like, it's like people go crazy during the full moon. So he even saw that switch being a police officer. And so then the full moon, and we just had it, I think, on like the 26th, is the time for letting go and release. And a lot of old stuff can come up. And then the new moon is, more of the time for new beginnings, setting intentions, starting something new, bringing something to birth. It's like the springtime. And then the full moon is more like a winter time of year, if that makes sense to you. Anyway, I just wanted to share that. Again, have an amazing, happy, healthy, prosperous new year. I'm wishing you all so much love. And really, health is wealth. So I just hope that you maintain your health and your wellness. That's what I'm in the business of. And I think it is vital to feel really good and have that strong internal terrain. So when we're internally kind of like excavating, healing, and nurturing and nourishing our insides, I think that shows externally, like out in the external aspects of our life. All right, y'all. Wishing you much love. Take care.